Doug's skin, he was not given that privilege. They wound up sending a white lineman to Disney World instead of Doug Williams. Since then, Doug Williams has been the vice president or equivalent to for the Washington Redskins. He's also came back to Tampa and worked with Tampa Bay, but now he's currently back with the Washington Commanders, Doug Williams. Anybody know who this brother is here? Refrigerator Perry. The story about Refrigerator Perry, as you know, he was 350 pounds. They used him basically to score touchdowns. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, today, Refrigerator Perry is no longer a refrigerator because of the fact that he's lost 90 pounds and he's under 200 pounds as we speak. He currently resides in an elder home because of the fact that he can't walk and the family refuses to take care of him. So he's currently in an elder's home. Refrigerator Perry. This powerful sister here, she made history. This is Ruby. Ruby is being escorted because of the fact that if you see this gentleman here, he has a badge on. These are the FBI escorting little Ruby to class. There you go. We shall not be moved. I don't have to say anything about that, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on. And just for the sake of time, this picture here was taken in Detroit, Michigan, along with this picture down by the waterfront. These Buffalo Soldiers, they were enacting a moment, and this is the gateway of freedom, meaning that the Underground Railroad went through Detroit, Michigan prior to moving on, crossed the river to Canada. If you've ever been to Detroit, downtown, you notice there's a walkway, and then there's the waterway. The waterway leads you right to Canada, and that's what they're pointing at. They're pointing to freedom. Now we move on. All right, I'm just going to go around a little bit. Black actresses. The great Diane Carroll, Cicely Tyson, the beautiful Dorothy Dandridge, unfortunately, who committed suicide, Pam Grier, Beth Richards, I forget her name. Anybody have an idea who this sister is? This lady here, she was the first lady to win, a first sister to win an Academy Award for her performances in Gone with the Wind. Ruby Dee, of course we know about Ruby. Butterfly McQueen. And can you believe this? Regina King is the TV daughter of Marla Gibbs. Anybody know the show? 227. 222. 222 was a drama about school, but this was 227. Right. Okay. And if you notice, in reference to Regina King, she just lost her son to suicide, unfortunately. And I didn't know that Regina King was 5'3". I thought she was about 5'8". But I was looking at a program the other day, matter of fact, New York Undercover, and she was in it. And I was like, wow, Regina's really short. So my daughter was telling me, yeah, she's only 5'3". I'm like, okay. So ladies and gentlemen, for the schoolers that's been around, this is Mr. Greg Morris. And Greg Morris was the only black to star on TV besides Bill Cosby at the time. And the program that Mr. Greg Morris starred in, anybody know?
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Correct. All right, we got Danny Glover, James Earl Jones, and yes, we just saw James Earl Jones in the movie, I don't want to say Coming to America, but the remake to Coming to America, and yes, he's still with us. Thank God for that. And everybody know who this gentleman is. Training Day.
He ain't nobody, he can't act.
So here's the $1 million question. Do anybody know who this brother is? Do anybody know who this brother was? And anybody know the movie that he starred in? There you go. And a short story about that, my dad and his company was watching the movie. Though I was a young teenager, we were not allowed to watch that movie. Would you believe that? And nowadays our kids watch all kind of stuff, right? We got this man who was at one time the highest grossing black actor in Hollywood, Samuel Jackson. For the ladies, we got Pretty Boy here, Billy D. Alright? Can you believe from the post office, from the United States Post Office to the 5 Heartbeats? And not just from the post office to the 5 Heartbeats, but we know about the movies that he made and the HBO specials that he had working his way to the 5 Heartbeats. And Robert Townsend is a perfect example of what you can do if you put your mind to it. Morgan Freeman. The only downside I have about Morgan Freeman is the fact that when Barack Obama was president, he told Jay Leno on the Tonight Show that we didn't need Black History Month anymore because we have Black History Month. That kind of blew me out the water, but I can give him all the credit in the world as a great actor. Ebo, who I was privileged to, be in the wire with him, and they say that he has been nominated as the next James Bond, the first black James Bond. So we'll see when it comes out. We have this brother here who I forget his name, great actor. Bill Duke, thank you. And again, this brother, I forget his name, but I can think of a lot of the movies that he starred in. Who? Right. All right. I can think of a lot of the movies that he starred in. Of course, the show, which I'm having a blank, that came on Wednesday nights. Which one is it? What's the name of it? Okay. All right. So this here are people of color in sports. I'm just going to browse through it. That's coach. Yes, the winningest black coach in sports, in college sports, that never got the credit he deserved. All right. Thank you. We talked about Doug Williams. Here's Doug Williams, January 31st, 1988. Gene Upshaw, the first black who was in charge of the National Football League Players Association. And he's one of the ones that brought us the free agency. We got Sweetness. We got the great Jim Brown. All right. This brother here, some of you all might remember him as the Baltimore Orioles' Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson was the first black man to be a manager, not only of the Baltimore Orioles, but the Cleveland Browns. Gene Upshaw, Jackie Robinson. Moving on, the first black Harlem Globetrotters. Dwight Gooden from Tampa, Florida, right here at Hillsborough High School. Hammer and Hank Aaron. Moving on. We have we got blacks in entertainment. Nat King Cole. Grover Washington, you may remember. B.B. King. Carol Simpson. How many of you all remember that sister?
We talked about her on one of our shows. I highlighted her.
Okay. MC Hammer. We have Guy, we have Lorraine Hansberry, Maya Angelou, Gregory Hines, who left us at an early age, Heavy D, and the Queen herself, Aretha Franklin. We talked about Melvin Peoples earlier. This is his son. Russell Simmons, Sammy Davis Jr., Spike Lee, Jackie Wilson, Regina Bell, Catherine Doran. Even though it doesn't have an end date here, but I'm sure she's gone by now. The Duke. Anybody know who that brother is there? Dizzy Gillespie, correct. I danced for him at the age of 15. Crisscross, and the dark-skinned brother is no longer with us. He committed suicide, unfortunately. Salt and Pepper, and everybody's favorite, the Four Tops, Arsenio Hall. Let's get busy. And I don't know if you were familiar, if you know this, but the Martin Show minus Tommy Ford is doing a reunion. They already recorded it, and it will be aired in September, October of this year on BET. The beautiful one, the late great, who is that? Natalie Cole, and the brother that brought us roots, Alex Haley. We have African Americans in politics, if you will, politics and civil rights. Of course, we have Frederick Douglass, Rosa Parks, Andrew Young, U.S. Representative Maxine Waters. We have the first sister who went to the moon, Miss Jameson. We have Eleanor Norton Holmes. We have Mr. Dr. Charles Drew. We have, unfortunately, do anyone remember what happened to Mr. Ronald Brown? All right. We have Mr. Robert Weaver. We have Judge William Hasty. We also have Miss Patricia Harris. We have Miss Mary McLeod. Anybody remember this sister? That's right. How about this brother here?
That's
Douglas Wilder. We have A. Philip Randolph with the boxcar union. We have Dr. Lewis W. Sullivan, who was the first black to be the Secretary, Department of Health and Human Services. Mr. Dale Hale Williams, Upward Hope, Downward Dope.
I am somebody.
There you go. Adam Clayton Powell.
They know it.
Yes. Richard Hatcher became the first black mayor of Indiana, along with Carl Stokes, the first black mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. Okay? Dr. Ralph Bunche. And moving on, I don't know who this guy is over here. I don't know who put this guy up here. We need to put this guy somewhere else. But, of course, this is myself imitating Mr. Frederick Douglass. A lot of people ask me, what is going on here? Well, as the story is told, Mr. Frederick Douglass, on his last day of life, February 20th, 1895, he was at a convention with Susan B. Anthony at the Convention Center in Washington, D.C. At this time, he was married to his second wife, Helen Pitts. Susan B. Anthony rode home with Mr. Douglass. He made it in the house. His intentions were to grab a bite to eat, go upstairs, if you will, relieve himself, and go on to his next speaking engagement. But unfortunately, as he was going up the stairwell, he jerked. And a lot of people don't know that inside his house, in his house with his children, his grandchildren, they say Frederick Douglass was a very corny man. he told corny jokes. So Helen Pitt, when she heard a noise, she said, "Frederick, stop playing around. You play too much." Well, she didn't realize that Frederick was having a stroke at the moment. And that's where he died from a heart attack. He tumbled back down the stairwell. So during my visit to the home, I asked the tour guide, "Where did Frederick die?" And he told me that he died right there at the foot of the stairwell. So I asked him, could I get down, could I lay down and play the role? And my sister was there with me, and she said, "Don't worry, I see why he plays Frederick Douglass, because he's crazy too." So that's what happened right there as I portrayed Frederick Douglass. And thank you all for walking with me. Of course, this is a portion of Dr. King, my Dr. King display. I have 7 display boards on Dr. King. What I would do at one time in my life, I would travel to Atlanta to the King Center, and I would collect pictures. I would go into the gift store, and I would buy little trinkets and what have you. And I would come back to Tampa, and I would give them to students. I would have contests, and I would talk about Dr. King, and I would give these little trinkets, if you will, to the students for good behavior. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the DLD Enterprises, and it says Baltimore, Maryland, a walk through Black history. I apologize that I was unable to really, which I really wanted to do, I really wanted to display my whole museum. It is important that we continue to assure ourselves that Black history continues to live. I am glad that God has gave me the charge to pick up the marathon, if you will, and continue to run with it, and to share this knowledge with our up and coming, and not only our up and coming generations, but you'll be amazed. There are a lot of people within our generation. There's a lot of people who are in their 40s, a lot of people in their 30s and 50s that are not aware of their history. And as we all know, that if you don't know where you come from, how you know where you're going? If you don't know the people who paved the way for us, if you don't know about those people who hung on those poles, if you don't know about those people who were burned, who were put on a stake, if you don't know about those people who went to jail, and not because of the fact that they were selling drugs, not because of murder, but they went to jail because they were fighting for freedom. If we don't know about those people that invented the yellow light, the cautious light, if we don't know about those people, as I stand here looking into this laptop, who invented certain portions of this laptop, if we don't know about those people that invented certain portions of our refrigerator, the luxury, our refrigerators, if we don't know about those people, we take everything for granted. We have a generation that is coming up now that, unfortunately, if it ain't about Jordans, if it ain't about the fronts, if it ain't about dissing some female, if it ain't about how pretty my car is, these are the things that they put their mind into instead of putting their mind into what I just showed you, which is our history. So each of us, that means that each one of my brothers and sisters that are currently listening to me, we have a charge. And that charge is to make sure that our history continues to live. I would also like to add, because we have, and no pun intended, but we have a lot of elders who will quickly say, I'm afraid of these young people. They scare me. I'm frightened of them. And unfortunately, us being frightened of them is another knock on an unwanted door, another knock on the dungeon's door to indicate that our history is going down in the dungeon. So I heard the other day when it was said by a black comedian. He said, unfortunately, we as blacks, and he pointed out to George Floyd. He pointed out a few other of our brothers who were unfortunately murdered by the racial police. He pointed out the fact that, yes, we're going to go out, we're going to march, we're going to raise sand, and after maybe about 2 or 3 days, everything dies down and we go right on back to our hut. That's right, I said hut. Our own independence. But if you put that on the white side, the white people, if it was them, they're going to protest. They're going to City Hall. They're going to fight until some type of change has been made. Some type of law to benefit them has been made. Today, those 3 white races, they were convicted for a hate crime today. Ahmaud's mother said, if we would not have fought the way we fought, though those 3 got sentenced previously, they would have got away with this hate crime. So as a mere fact of what I'm saying is that we as a people, we have to come together instead of being apart. If you know about history, it was said by the slave owners many years ago, don't whip those black people, just play with their heads. And long after we are gone, 2022, they will still despise each other. They will still hate on each other. They will still kill each other. So somewhere along the line, we have to begin to wake up and understand and be able to change the roles of history. Let it be known that we are gifted people. Let it be known that we are blessed people. Let it be known that we are wonderful people. Let it be known that we are kings. Let it be known that we are queens. Let it be known there was no mistake for our presence here. And as Frederick Douglass said, no, I am not packing my bags and going back to Africa because I was born here in this America. But as I'm born here in this America, I am a black American, and you will respect me. But we have to respect each other. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank each and every one of you all for the opportunity to be your guest tonight and to also share what I have been calling since 2010, the DLD Traveling Black History Museum. And if anyone get that strange idea that you would like to have this museum set up at your location, we can talk about it. God bless you and thank you.
I already have hands up, Mr. Dowers. I'm going to get back and tell you how I feel about you in just a moment. I think Ms. Trudy Williams had her hand up. Is that right, Trudy?
Well, I was clapping, but I'll take this opportunity. Wonderful education, and we need to find somewhere for you to go. And not just in February, March. We need to find somewhere for your museum to go every month and educate people, because you're right, we are so miseducated, and we're not trying to figure out how to get educated.
Thank you very much. And I'm always praying that, it's funny, I told my fiance the other morning, I said, I got a feeling that, or should I said, God has told me I'll be here till 95 years of age. And my whole premise is that I would love to have the opportunity to travel with this and take this into the crevice holes, if you will, of these Americas, to teach, to show our young brothers, and not just young brothers and sisters, but our elders as well. Because we have so many people on the young side and on the elder side that unfortunately they don't know no more than their home, shopping store, church, and back. Never traveled. And that was one of my reasons as to, on my travels, I knew the Spirit was put in me that there's a lot of people that will never travel. And I've been gifted to travel. So my pictures and images that I captured, the paraphernalia that I purchased, I did all that because I wanted to be able to share it with those who unfortunately may never get the chance to travel. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Doddridge, I just wanted to say that for me, as you walk us through this journey, you just continually just struck a nerve. Each picture, I would think of a different situation, a different time in my life. And I thought I was tough, but when you showed the picture with the three black athletes and they had with their hands up, with fist drawn, I don't know why that what got to me. I almost had to get my tissue. You never know what was going to hit a person. 1968 was the year I graduated high school. That was also the year of Martin Luther King and Kennedy. So much happened at that period of time, and I'm still having the little feelings, the little cold bumps going up and down. I don't know what you did and how you said it, but you brought a lot of things home. It was entertaining. It was educational. It was riveting. It was all of that and more. So we want to thank you so much. I saw black people's hands up, and other people who like to make comments, but we're trying to make sure that for the whole group here, that we're so appreciative. We don't take you for granted. You have something special. Your talents are huge, and you have wanted to share with the people of the world. And
Yes, ma'am.
we can help you do that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I noticed as you were talking, the question was, where was I located at? And I see Fran had answered that, but I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland, by way of the South Bronx, New York, and I currently live here in Tampa, and I just went over, I believe, 46 or 47 years here in Tampa. But like the old show, Have Guns Will Travel, Have Motivational Speaker Will Travel. And again, Miss Murphy, thank you very much.
Now we have another hand up. We have Mr. Leroy McKenzie. Mr. McKenzie.
Yeah, I just have two things, Dawn. And Miss Trudy's on to something. Because just like you have the art, those art pieces and stuff like that travel to different museums, yours is something that, or to different galleries. I think that would be a great idea for your presentation to be in different galleries like that. I think that'd be I think that would be a great idea. And I don't know if I missed it, but do you have a section where you highlight medicine, great blacks in medicine?
I don't have a section. However, as I look over and I see the African Americans, a difference in politics, I have a few doctors and scientists that are located on the board, and I also have, which I didn't mention and I haven't showed, but I have a stamp collection. And believe it or not, in that stamp collection, that's where I learned about the scientist Ernest Just. I don't know if that name rings a bell, but right now that's basically it. And just to share, not to get off topic, but I showed you the board of Jesse Owens and Joe Louis. Well, I just made that board last week. So every now and then I get a strange itch, and I will put together a new board. And I also like what you said, good doctor, in reference to traveling to different museums. And I just will come out and admit, there are some links that I'm not familiar with in order to get this information in certain locales where that it can really make a difference in people's lives. So I am open to suggestions that might assist in this collection, making its way. So if anybody do know, if anybody's willing to share, I do have a telephone, and we can move forward from there. If I may, I'm sorry, Miss Murphy, somebody asked a question, why did I move here to Tampa? Well, I came here to Tampa, and this is a perfect question, because that goes to show you, as I was talking about Brother Malcolm, it shows perfect that, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And when I came to Tampa, I was 17 years old. I had just got stabbed. I had just come out of a 2-week coma. And my great-grandmother, who was a Pentecostal, very deep religious woman, my biological dad at the time was living here in Tampa. So she shipped me out from the South Bronx to Tampa. I came here August the 16th, 1974. And believe it or not, October, which was a few months away, my dad wanted to go back to New York. And I had the gall to stand up to him and told him that I was not going back to New York, because I knew that if I would have went back, I would not be standing here talking to you all today. So that's why I moved to Tampa, Florida.
I was just going to also comment, Mr. McKenzie mentioned that he was looking for doctors and surgeons. I thought I saw a picture of Daniel Hale Williams.
Yes, he's on the board, A Difference in Politics.
That's right. I recognized him right away.
Yes.
There was one of Charles Drew, too.
Yes, Charles Drew. Yes. And I believe there's a few others that are up there on the board as I glance afar.
There's so much you can do. I think you can do one in inventions, black inventions, that which I think just be absolutely phenomenal to add. I know you got a lot. This ain't even half of what you already have. But the inventors, what was the other one I was just doing? But medicine was the other one. And even black inventions, like Wall Street and entrepreneurs, three that just kind of come to mind. If you don't already.
Yeah, and I do realize, and I know time, but I do realize that I'm probably maybe one of the few in America that has a collection like this. When you speak of African Americans, I know we have museums that have, busts, we have original work from Africa, etc., but this here, I like to think of this as the majority of this is handmade. And I say handmade because, these are pictures that I took, and I just decided to, make display boards out of them. And believe it or not, you see kids, they're doing homework assignments with display boards. So this here, if you will, is my homework assignment with display boards. But it would be wonderful, instead of being in my storage bin, if it would be out so people can see it and enjoy it and learn from it.
Do we have any other comments at this time or questions for Mr. Dowd?